If you're a mortgage broker and you want to get more leads from your website, then one of the most important things you can do is to make sure that your website or your landing page that you're using to generate leads has a decent value proposition. I'm David from the PPC Machine, and I help mortgage brokers and financial advisors get more leads from their own websites. And over the years I've been doing this with my private clients, I've often seen that just by improving the value proposition, we can get anything from a 50 to 100% increase in the number of leads that they generate from things like Google Ads campaigns. So in this video, I'm going to show you some examples of good value propositions and bad ones, so as you can see exactly what we should look like and hopefully get some ideas on how you can come up with a better value proposition for your own site and get more leads. So stay tuned. Now, if you're not sure what a value proposition is, I'll put a link in the description below to an article where I talk about this in more detail. But in simple terms, a value proposition is the main headline that you can put on your website or on your landing page that answers three really important questions that everyone will have in their mind when they land on your page. Whether they realise they've got those questions in their head or not, the chances are that they will have. And those questions are: where am I? What can I do here? And why should I stick around and do it? And what you'll find is that most websites, most mortgage brokers' websites and sites in other industries as well, are very good at answering the first two questions, the where am I and what can I do here questions, but they fall down on the why should I stick around and do it here rather than going to one of your competitors. That's the bit they don't really address. And of course, in the mortgage industry in particular, it's really important that you convince people you're the right person to help them, because there are 40 odd thousand mortgage brokers in the UK, all selling essentially the same products from the same lenders. So it's really important that someone knows within a couple of seconds of landing on your site why they should deal with you rather than one of your many competitors. So let's have a look at some of these good and bad value propositions. This first example, I've picked all of these just from various websites I've stumbled across over the last few months. This one here is not a particularly great value proposition. It says what's on offer, mortgages, and it says it's quality impartial advice from professionals. So it says what's on offer here, but it doesn't give you any reason to choose them. Plus, because of the type of background they've chosen and the colour of the text, is also quite hard to read. This one, again, not particularly great, tailored mortgage advice. Well, what is it tailored to? Is it tailored to me? I don't know. And underneath that, it's got what isn't really a value proposition, but it's more of what I call a strap line. You know, this bit that says whatever your reason, whatever your budget, whatever your needs. If anyone watching this is old enough to remember, it's a bit like that advert from the 80s or 90s, anytime, any place, anywhere, which I think was an advert for Martini. But anyway, it's a strap line, it's a sort of catchy marketing slogan, but it doesn't actually convey any real value, so it's not a proper value proposition. This one here is, again, not particularly great. It's very wordy. It's just a big wall of text that perhaps people aren't really going to read through, but even the main headline at the top, it's advice from people who care. Well, it's very easy to say you care, but how do we know they care? Where's the proof? Where's the stats in there, saying what great service they give, or what percentage of their customers rate them as 5-star or whatever. This one is a little bit better, partly because it is focused on the client, on the potential client, the person reading it. So it says they're going to find the right mortgage for you. So it's about you, the reader, you, the potential client, rather than we, the broker. But again, it's not great in that it doesn't really say what makes it the right mortgage. It doesn't talk about the outcomes and the benefits that the person gets from having the right mortgage, which might be things like paying a lower rate, or getting approved faster, or paying less over the term of the mortgage, or whatever it might be. There's nothing really here that quantifies what we mean by the right mortgage. This one is a bit better, because in this one it's clearer who it's for. It's specifically for talking to first-time buyers. But here you see, rather than just saying we'll get you the right mortgage, they're saying we'll get you the best mortgage deal, fast, and help you get your house worry-free. So they're actually talking about the end outcome, because as I've said before in other contexts, nobody actually wants a mortgage. What they want are the things that a mortgage gives them. In this case, their new house. So don't be afraid to remind people in your value proposition of the actual ultimate outcome, rather than talking purely about the mortgage itself, which is just really just a means to an end, isn't it? This one here, this is an example where, as opposed to the one we saw just now where they said we're mortgage brokers who care, this one, they're saying they're trusted, but they're doing things to back it up, because they've got the Trustpilot logos down there. But also they're putting a very, very clear benefit in their subheading, saying that this is advice that could save you £344 a month. And the fact that they've actually put a very specific figure in there makes it seem far more credible. You know, it suggests that someone's actually done some calculations and worked this out, rather than it just saying free mortgage advice that could save you money. This one here, the main benefit they're pushing is very, very clear: 100% fee-free advice. Obviously, you know, not all brokers offer free advice, but this particular one does, and they've chosen therefore to make that very prominent in their headline. But of course, there are plenty of other benefits you can put in your headline if you're a broker who does charge for their advice. And they're talking about the fact that they compare 90 lenders and arrange your mortgage. So rather than just saying we'll search the whole market, they're again being specific and quantifying that and making it sound more believable by saying an actual number of lenders. Now we come on to one which is a value proposition that's aimed squarely at a particular niche within the mortgage market. So this landing page is clearly aimed at company directors who are looking for a mortgage. So that's very clear from the headline, and the main benefits of it being fast and hassle-free are very clear. So that makes that a good value proposition. And then the sub-value proposition takes that a stage further and really drills into the particular benefits and addresses a frustration or a challenge that that target audience in that particular niche might have, by talking about the fact they can borrow up to 95% and it can be based on the company's net profits rather than just on salary and dividends. And this is where having a very clear idea of your niche makes it in some ways a lot easier to come up with a good value proposition, because if you know exactly who your target audience is, you know what niche you're in, then you're going to have a much better idea of the challenges and the problems and the frustrations and the pain points that that audience has, and you can make sure that you address those specifically in the value proposition like they've done here. Of course, this value proposition would be no good at all for someone who had a full-time job and plenty of pay slips and everything like that, but for the audience they're talking to, it's going to resonate and they're going to go, yes, that's the situation I'm in, these are the people for me. Here's another one from the company director kind of niche. Again, the main benefit is very clear in the primary headline, that we're going to get lower rates than you'll find elsewhere. It's also very clear that it's aimed at company directors. So if you're in a company director, you know that you're in the right place. And then in the subheading, the benefits are spelt out in a bit more detail, but you can borrow more, pay less, and get the home that you really want. So again, it's about the outcomes rather than just the features and benefits of the mortgage or the mortgage advice itself. Here is another niche specific one, this time aimed at contractors. And again, because they know who they're talking to, they're able to make the value proposition very powerful for that particular audience. So it's fast, and you can base it on your day rate or your hour rate, rather than, for example, on your company accounts. And then they obviously drill into more detail in that in the subheading underneath. This is quite a good example of one for the adverse market, because rather than the headline just saying bad credit mortgages or mortgages for adverse credit or whatever, it's again focusing on the solution and the benefit and the outcome, which is the mortgage made possible. So the audience reading this have potentially been turned down elsewhere. They think it's going to be impossible to get a mortgage. So very quickly, this page is going to say to them, you're in the right place because we can make this happen. So we've got a few examples there of some good value propositions and some not so good ones, and hopefully you can see the difference between the two types. And hopefully you can also see the fact that if you have taken the advice that I've given elsewhere and niched your mortgage business and focusing on a particular sector, it actually becomes much easier to write a powerful value proposition. So that brings me on to the next thing I want to talk about really, which is how do you write a value proposition? We've seen what a good one looks like, but how do people come up with that? Well, obviously there's various ways you can do it, but there is a process that I use myself when I'm working one-to-one with clients and doing this stuff for them, and it's the same process that I teach people in my group coaching program as well. So I want to quickly tell you now what that is. So the first step in creating a good value proposition is to list out all of your USPs, all your unique selling points, all the benefits you can think of that someone gets from using you and using your service, and just list as many of them as you can think of. Then you can go through and score each one for how appealing it is to your target audience, and then score it again with another score for how exclusive it is. You know, how many other brokers out there offer the same or a similar kind of thing. And by taking those two scores, the score for appeal and the score for exclusivity, and multiplying them together, you can get an overall score for each of your USPs, and then you can rank them in order. And what I recommend is that when you've done that, you hopefully have 2 or 3 sort of USPs that are clearly ahead of the rest, and they form the basis of your value proposition. So you can then take those and craft them into the kind of headline and perhaps a subheading as well, like the examples that we've seen there. If creating a value proposition is something you'd like to know more about, and you're keen to do that for your own website to start generating more leads, I do have some resources that I'll link to in the description below. I have a set of online courses, Mortgage Marketing Fundamentals course, which is a set of courses where I take you through the whole process of identifying your ideal client, choosing a niche, and then writing a value proposition for that particular audience. And if you want more help with that and all the other aspects of your online marketing and lead generation, then why not join my Predictable Pipeline program, where I have a range of online courses and group coaching and one-to-one support to help you do all this kind of thing for yourself. And again, I'll put a link to the details of that in the description. But I hope this has been useful and given you a real sort of flavour of what we mean by a good value proposition, and that's going to inspire you to go out and create one for yourself. As ever, if you have any questions or comments or feedback on what you've seen here today, do leave them in the comments below. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, please do give the video a like, and also subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so as you get to be the first to hear when I release more videos like this. Thanks very much for watching. See you again soon.